A truth table is a tool used in logic to show all possible truth values of a compound statement. Let's break that down. A statement, let's call it P, can be either true or false. So this can be true or false. Another statement like Q can also be true or false. If we combine these statements using logical connectives like AND, or not, let's say this one is P and Q. The truth table helps us see what the result is in every case for this combination of statements. Because P and Q will also have a truth value, so this can also be true or false depending on the values of P and Q. Let's look at a simple example. Suppose we have two propositions, again, P and Q, and each can be either true or false, as we said. So how many combinations are there? There are 4 combinations. Why? Because P can be true and Q true. We can have true and false. We can have false and true. And we can have false and false. These are all possible combinations of logical values. As you see, we are already building a table here. Now, let's add some columns for each logical expression. So first of all, not P. If P is true, then not P is false. So this is false, this is false. If P is false, then not P is true. Same thing with not Q. If Q is true, then not Q is false. If Q is false, then not Q is true. If Q is true, not Q is false. And if Q is false, not Q is true. So all we're doing here is we are looking at values of Q and we are applying not to them, which is giving us this result. Next, let's do P and Q. This is true only when both P and Q are true. So here we have this scenario where both are true. So P and Q is true here. For all other scenarios, at least one of them is false. So every other row is false for P and Q. P and Q is only true when both P and Q are true. Next, P or Q. This is true when at least one of them is true. So this is true, this is true, this is true, and only this one is false. Because here both P and Q are false, so P or Q is also false. Let's make some room for the next ones. If P, then Q. This is false only when P is true and Q is false. In all other cases, it's true. So this is false and the other ones are true. And finally, we will do P if and only if Q, which is true when P and Q have the same truth value. So here both are true and here both are false. So this is true in these two scenarios and it's false in the other two. So as you see, a truth table shows step by step how logical expressions behave in all possible cases.